Today from the Global Lane, terror strikes Sri Lanka. We look at how it happened and the impact on the nation's tiny Christian community. Kidnapped for sex in the name of Allah. How this 15-year-old Pakistani Christian escaped. Sex trafficking. It's not only happening overseas, children are victimized right here in the USA. And the politics of impeachment. Reaping what we sow. And it's all right here, right now, from the Global Lane. The Islamic State has claimed responsibility for a series of Easter Sunday bombings in Sri Lanka. The country's defense minister says the Islamic terrorists acted in retaliation for the shooting at mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand last month. They bombed luxury hotels and 3 churches in Sri Lanka. It happened during the middle of Easter worship services. It appeared to be a well-executed bombing conspiracy against Christians and foreign visitors. Anton Sudharshan of the British Pakistani Christians Association is in Sri Lanka right now. He joins us with an update. He was on the scene just moments after those churches were attacked. He has spent time with the injured and the families of some of the victims. So, Anton, tell us, how are the injured, the victims' families, and the country doing at this time?
You cannot imagine the pain they are going through, and also it triggered the anger of most of the people with the pain, and it has come a big trauma right now. I have seen the people on the ground, and they were put into white bags, and some were burnt out. But God has helped us to go into the exact place where the bomb blast has gone and then went off, and I could see there was another suspect, but many of them had the chance to escape. And the people, to be honest, they don't know what to do, and they were also in shock because something else like this never happened in Sri Lanka. As Christians, we suffered a lot by the hands of extremists, all from all different groups of religions. But this time, we never thought that this kind of an attack would come on us.
10 years ago, it was the Tamil Tigers, Hindu terrorists striking the country. Militant Buddhists have attacked Christians and their churches, but nothing like this, Anton. Why now? Why Islamic terrorism?
I think they were organizing themselves, and there was an organization called National Tawhid Jamaat. And they were training themselves for a long time. As we see, the ISIS has come to play a big role in Middle East, and they were losing their fight against the forces, and then they were trying to capture other places and other countries. They were trying to enter the other territories and to try to get the control over the territorial waters and the lands of these Southeast Asian places. So I'm sure this Tawhid Jamaat had the link to go and to get trained, and then to train themselves in such a warfare. And even very recently, I have seen this Tawhid Jamaat, the founder, he himself with another 2 to 3 or 5 people were gathered together to pray for a mission. And they had prayed, and we see the result right now. It is evident, and that is the connection that they had with the ISIS. Mosque leaders, or we call them as imams, who were well-trained, who were well-educated, and they went and they got the ranks in ISIS, and they fought, and some of them died. After the death only that we came to know that there were also Sri Lankans among ISIS ranks. Maybe they would have found a very special way to return back without even the authorities maybe know about it.
And how are Christians responding?
The cardinal of the Catholic Church, and he asked the people and the pious Catholics to calm down, not to hurt or not to do as they have done to us, and to imitate the Christ's love as how he did it on cross.
What can our viewers do?
We should pray first and ask the Holy Spirit to move. And then we should also raise funds, and it should be materialistically, and if it's possible, to send medical equipments and medical needs, and to build up our churches, and to make sure the people when they enter church, and they to have a very protective and mechanism they are set up to be given the protection, and also the international Christians to pressure on the government of Sri Lanka to make sure our minority Christian groups and their churches to be safe, and to let us peacefully worship the Lord, that we believe in Christ and we want to live a peaceful life, and also our rights should be also protected at the same time.
Okay, Anton Sudharshan of British Pakistani Christian Sri Lanka. Thank you for joining us with that update.
Thank you so much.
When we come back, terrorism of another kind, kidnapping and sexual enslavement of girls in Pakistan.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I Wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit cbn.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Religiously motivated kidnappings for purposes of sexual enslavement and forced religious conversion are commonplace in many Islamic countries. In Pakistan, there's new hope that the government intends to take tougher action to combat human trafficking. Pakistani Christians say authorities often ignore this horrid crime when Christian girls are the victims. But on the morning of April 10th, police raided a home in Faisalabad and freed 15-year-old Christian Shala Javed from her Muslim rapist and kidnapper. Well, joining us from London with more on this story is the president of British Pakistani Christians, Wilson Chowdhury. Hi, Wilson. So tell us about young Shala Javed. It's quite rare, I guess, when Pakistani Christian girls like her are actually rescued from a religiously motivated sexual kidnapping like this one.
I'm actually quite dubious about how much the police actually wanted to assist with her release. What actually transpired was that when the police went to make a raid, the perpetrators of the kidnap and forced marriage managed to get some prior knowledge. As a consequence, while they were running away, Shala Javed took her opportunity to flee their grasp, their clutches, and managed to contact a local person who allowed her to call her parents, who arrived promptly to bring her to safety. But without a doubt, the very fact that a police raid was going to happen enabled her to escape.
How common is this, Wilson, in Pakistan? Explain what typically happens to beautiful young Christian girls there.
Well, often they will be going to school with friends or colleagues, same age as them. The average age will be 13 years old. And when they decide to go on a shopping trip, an uncle will suddenly appear or a father will suddenly appear and offer to take the girls to the shopping centre by vehicle. When this happens, the girls will get trapped into a sexual captivity and forced into Islamic marriage. But in many cases, the more brave or brazen individuals will actually kidnap girls from their homes, finding an opportune moment. They may or may not know the family who they kidnapped the girls from, but they will have information on these young girls.
And what role did faith play in all of this for young Charlotte? What did she say about God rescuing her from sexual enslavement?
Oh, she rejoiced, and she has been praying throughout her captivity for an opportunity to escape, and God showed her the light and an opportunity. She took it, and God protected her throughout that whole escape, finding a strange man from a Muslim home who managed to contact her, allowed her to contact her parents, and they were able to swiftly respond and bring her to a place of safety. It is a miracle that she's been taken away from the clutches, because the government would never have done that.
Are Pakistani government attitudes changing about this since Imran Khan became prime minister? Why or why not?
Again, it's very hard to establish any real impetus towards change. Girls are still being kidnapped. Police are still refusing to take cases to investigation level, and we're still finding it extremely difficult to win court cases. As I said, in this particular case, God has intervened, and this a miracle during a bungled police raid where a tip-off was made. Charlotte Javid took her opportunity, escaped, and managed to find safety, calling her parents from a stranger's phone. If anything, there is Western pressure on Imran Khan, and we have noticed that in many cases of persecution, such as Asia Bibi and her freedom, and the fact that 3,500 rioters were arrested, who were leaders of extremist groups, that the impetus to riot was nullified by those arrests. Now, the only option here is by the Pakistani courts ensuring that laws are even stronger protecting minorities. But despite the many changes that have happened over the last 5 to 6 years, including the Women's Rights Protection Bill, we find enforcement is unfortunately lackadaisical, and it's luck of the draw. Overall, there isn't much change. The progress that has been made are changes in law that we still need to see come into effect.
So you can still have all the laws on the books you want, but it comes down to enforcement, does it not? So what can our viewers do then, Wilson, about these religiously motivated sexual enslavement kidnappings?
Well, we need Christians across the globe to pray about this situation, pray for the freedom of these girls, pray for these laws to now be enforced, pray for the Pakistani government to accept its responsibility to ensure that every citizen within their realm are protected and have equal rights. More importantly, if they really do want to help, we have, we do run appeals, and, we cannot afford to run our safe houses or our women's protection programs without assistance from Christians who are willing to donate financially to help us. I mean, that's one way that they can help.
Okay, Wilson Chowdhury, I know you've been very busy today from London. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time: keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. Whoa! It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit cbn.com. The I wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson.
Human trafficking and sexual enslavement. Most of us think, well, it happens over there in other countries like India, Nepal, and Pakistan. But it's also happening right here at home in the good old USA, where it's become a $13 billion per year criminal enterprise. Andy Berger is trying to do something about it. She has a ministry in Redmond, Oregon, that's committed to rescuing girls from sex abuse and trafficking. It's called Beulah's Place, and she's here to tell us more about what is happening and how to help. Andy, so glad to have you with us. So tell us, we always think of sex trafficking as a problem in other countries. How bad is it here in the USA?
It is shamefully bad, Gary, in terms of every single state in the union has been documented as having some kind of trafficking in their communities, whether it's a larger community like Atlanta or Portland, Oregon, or places like that, or smaller communities, because we really have no checks and balance on this. The predators have fairly free reign. It's a business to them. So it is very easy for kids to go missing and not be found or to disappear. And it's just now coming into our purview of what that really means. Communities are starting to recognize that it can happen. And I know from personal experience that it does happen because I survived it myself before there ever was a term called human trafficking.
I want to get back to that in a minute on your own personal story, but I know that a lot of times this happens to runaways. Are they the most vulnerable?
They are, but actually it's school kids of any age, from the youngest ones to the teens that we rescue, anywhere from the 12, 13, 14-year-old. Predators will pay others to actually target young girls or young boys, and they become recruited into trafficking. One of the reasons I'm here in Chicago is to promote a film that helps show this so that we can create more of an awareness for our young people and the parents and anyone in the community, especially churches and schools where the greater population of kids usually are.
And I'm sure there's a whole new dynamic nowadays compared to years ago when you were young. It's the social media. It's the internet. What role does that play?
It's a tremendous pressure. There's a lot of peer pressure. You really don't know who's on the other end of that chat line, which makes it very easy for, say, an unpopular teen at school or a teen that's going through troubles at home to reach out and find what they think is an understanding voice or person on the other end. But in reality, it could be a trap, and usually a very painful or even deadly trap.
Andy, what are you doing to make a difference? How do you help?
My husband and I co-founded Beulah's Place 10 years ago, and what we do is we rescue the at-risk homeless teens in danger of trafficking or other criminally predatory activities. We get them off the street, get them to graduate high school if they haven't already. We get them jobs, and then we help them reintegrate into communities successfully. And instead of talking about it, we decided we needed to do something about it, and we have.
And I know that it's your faith that motivates you to do what you do, Andy. Tell us about your own experience and what role has faith played in inspiring you to begin your ministry?
When I was very young, from age 6 months to 17 years old, my birth family trafficked me, sex trafficked me. My mother was the primary sexual predator, and then there were extended family members. And by the time I was 5, Gary, I wanted to take my life, and I tried to because my birth mother said my days were numbered anyway. And since she was intent on taking me out of this life, I thought I would beat her to the punch. But while I was sitting on the curb waiting for a car to be coming by fast enough to jump in front of, I looked up into this big sky, and no cars were coming, but I looked into the sky. I thought somebody had to make that sky. Somebody has to be bigger than the people hurting me, and that's where God interceded in my heart. I just heard this voice saying, there's a purpose and a plan for you. So I did not kill myself, clearly. And I promised at that time as a 5-year-old, whatever I was called to do, I would do if I lived long enough to do it. But it was a very long and painful childhood and teenagehood. The last time my birth mother tried to take my life, I was 17.
Wow. Andy, this is an incredible story. And what can you say to others that may have gone through this or are going through this? You know, I know the trauma of someone who's been through that must be just horrific. How do you ever get beyond that?
In my life and in any life, Gary, to be honest, I don't know how you get through it without Jesus, because without him, without God, I would not be here. But for those of you who are wondering, you can be transformed. You can be whole and healed. It's not an overnight process. There's a lot of things that go into that, whether it's counseling or you know, other people that support you. But he truly is the only one that can take yesterday's garbage and turn it into something positive, like he did in my life. But what we tell our kids is we are here to offer help, healing, and hope. And I would hope, as a Christian community nationally, that when your viewers go to our website at BeulahsPlace.org, they'll see things. There will be hotline numbers. There are things that they can do. But as a Christian community, that we would rise up and say, enough. We will not allow our children to be sold or abused the way I was, or the way many others that are still praying that somebody out there cares enough to go look for them, to go find them, to love them without judgment.
As the world watches from the outside,
it's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Soon to our nation's capital, a long, hot political summer. If you love political news, you're sure to get your fill. If you hate politics, you'll likely be annoyed. You see, Democratic Party candidates for president, already campaigning in New Hampshire and Iowa, are trying to win votes of the far left. They're pushing for impeachment of our duly elected president. And you know the left hates Trump, and they'll stop at nothing to get rid of him. They don't want to wait until the next election. That's because they fear American voters may send him back to the White House. So impeachment is their only option, right? Well, at least in their view. But Democrat leaders like Nancy Pelosi know impeachment will only hurt their party. They want to continue the investigations. Pelosi and others hope that will placate the left. Just keep telling them we don't have all the facts, more needs to be learned. The problem is, after 2 years of investigating with an extensive team of seasoned lawyers and investigators, Special Counsel Mueller discovered plenty. And he found that Trump and his campaign committed no crime of conspiring with Russia to rig the 2016 election. So, folks, if there was no crime committed, then there was no crime to obstruct. How can you obstruct a crime if no crime was committed? Well, let's look at two of the main points raised when Democrats talk about obstruction. First, the firing of former FBI Director James Comey. The Mueller report states that Trump fired Comey because he wouldn't publicly acknowledge that the president wasn't under investigation. Trump said he fired Comey because he's a dirty cop. And evidence now suggests the former FBI director lied to Congress, leaked government documents to the press, and acted inappropriately in the Hillary Clinton classified email investigation. Another big concern, the special counsel report says Trump asked former White House counsel Don McGahn to fire Mueller. If true, well, Mueller wasn't actually fired. It was just discussed. Is simply talking about something obstruction? Doesn't it have to do more with covert actions like witness tampering? Another former White House counsel, John Dowd, said he briefed the president every day and never heard him demand that Mueller be fired.
At no time did the president ever say, you know, John, I'm going to get rid of him. John is not going to do it. It was just the opposite. Here's the message the president had for Bob Mueller, to me, to carry. One, you tell him I respect what he's doing. Number two, you tell him he's got my full cooperation.
House Judiciary Chairman Jerry Nadler has subpoenaed McGahn, but the president is fighting the subpoena in court. He doesn't believe White House aides should be forced to testify before Congress for political reasons. This is Deputy White House Press Secretary Hogan Gidley.
They don't want to get to the truth. They want to get to this president. And at this point, I don't know what Jerry Nadler thinks he's going to get that Robert Mueller didn't, except for some political points with the base.
And Senator Lindsey Graham agrees.
They're going to use the Mueller report, anything they can find to try to destroy his presidency. Nancy Pelosi's not in charge of the Democratic Party. The radical left is in charge.
Don't you love the new and improved Lindsey? It seems like he's revealing more of his true conservative self now that his friend John McCain has passed away. Anyway, back to the Democrats. Some in the House of Representatives believe they can do a better job investigating this president than a seasoned team of Mueller prosecutors. Really? I thought Congress's job was to enact laws and decide where our money goes. Yes, Congress does have government oversight authority, but this is going way beyond just investigating Russian election tampering. This is destruction politics. If you can't defeat a candidate in the voting booth, then you destroy him personally, his success, his business, his life, and everyone around him becomes collateral damage. And the problem is, when you throw bombs, sometimes they blow up in your face. For the Democrats, that tactic may surely lead to electoral defeat. America's ready to move on. The voters, not the politicians, should determine the fate of this president next year. In the meantime, Democrats and Republicans, all of us need to heed what the Bible tells us. Galatians 6:7 says, "Do not be deceived, God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap." So may we sow more tolerance, civility, and love in Washington politics and in our own lives. Well, that's it from the Global Lane. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and Twitter. And until next time, be blessed.